Alright guys, alright, so the front clip is on and the blocks are cured, or at least as far as the super glue is cured. Again, we're gonna epoxy weld them in place as well, so it's so the super glue is sealed. The super glue is still gonna be what's bonding the block to the fender, but if you epoxy it, then you're sealing the moisture out, because the moisture is actually what will ruin the bond for the super glue. So, but anyways, that's going to come later. The next step in this will be doing the adding the front filler piece, and then doing some body work. We'll be glassing this in here to smooth that out, and then I don't know if you see that line right there. Let's see if I get a marker here. So you got two lines. You got the mold seam line, and then you also got this. I don't know what's going on with that, but we're gonna smooth that line that runs along here out as well. So we're going to be working on that, and then we'll be fitting in the grill. We're going to do that before we install the radiator support, because what we're going to do is we're going to use the stock mounts for the radiator, or not the radiator, the front grill, and then once we have this all fitted, then we're going to cut those tabs out and glue this in place using the grill to kind of set this in place. And then once that is done and this is cured in there, then you'll have the option to, you could either leave this, or you can cut it out and put the top piece of the radiator support on. So you got your choice of what you want to do there. There is a place for a magnet, but it is smaller than the stock, and then we'll have to make this thinner. So basically, we're gonna have to remove the plastic on top of the magnet to get clearance. But I found that the smaller magnet is still plenty to hold the hood on. I think this is probably a little overkill. I noticed, like when I had this with the stock setup, it was kind of a pain to get the hood open. So, and then regardless if it's that strong or this strong, if you tumble, if you get a good roll, that hood's coming open. So, and you know, with a stock setup, or with this, this is gonna be like a real truck. You're not gonna want to ever roll this. With the more scale you add, the more carnage you add anytime you crash or roll it. So yeah, this is gonna be, you know, you're building a scale truck, you're gonna want to build a scale course to run it on, and gotta be realistic. You're not gonna be climbing walls with it or nothing. So, alright, so yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the front clip from the cab, and then set that cab aside so I can start working on this. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then we'll be right back. And poof. Actually, I'm going to adjust you guys down a little bit, so I think that'll help with the view. Hopefully that works better. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is get this glued in place and make sure I have the right side facing out. I'm going to rough up. Alright, so first things first. Alright, so the turn signal, your original these tabs here for the turn signals, I don't even know what to call them. We're gonna have to cut them out. The first one I left them in, and because you're gonna add this here. It makes it thicker and the screws won't fit. And I replaced the screws with some longer ones that I had, but they ended up stripping out, and I'd rather use the stock hardware anyway. So that's going to be the, I guess, the first thing I'm going to do. And I've never done it before, so I'm going to try the simplest way I can think of, and that's just using a pair of side snippers. And of course I don't have them in here, but I do got these. But let me get my snippers. And poof. Alright, so I should be able to just cut right along here. Okay. Alright, so I shouldn't have a problem getting my turn signals on now. Especially with the stock hardware. Now what I'm going to do is rough this up so I have actual plastic to glue to. And I'll use some really rough sandpaper for that. I'm gonna focus more on the edge here. So once it's secured, you want to try to make sure you're centered as you can be. And make sure you're sitting all the way down. So that looks good. I'm going to put a bunch of these guys on. Actually, maybe that ain't gonna work all that well. I think I got it good enough. Alright, so I'm gonna let that cure. So I think I'm gonna use some tape. Make sure I get that top. Alright. Alright, so I'm gonna let that sit up, and then we'll come back and start glassing that in. Actually, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna knock that edge down on this other side to match this side. So before you just start cutting away on that, you might want to measure it so that you know what you're removing. So it's about 1/8 of an inch, and this side I've knocked down about 35, almost 40 thousandths. 30 thousandths. Yeah, almost 40 thousandths. Alright, so probably should get something to put down so I'm not scratching my chrome. And yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of be precise at this, so. But I'm just using. myself from rocking. Ooh. Okay, 70 thousandths I think is the most you actually want to go, because I just noticed something. I am actually cutting through to where this is, where the bezel actually starts from the outside of this trim. But yeah, that's gonna look pretty good. Alright, so ooh, 65 thou. Calling that good enough. I don't want to ruin it. Alright, so I think I'm gonna wait to cut this out, because we're gonna cut a portion of these bottom tab. You don't need these because of the way this thing was angled. If you have this angle on here, it actually, when you screw this in there, it actually forces it out anyway. So it's a bit overkill. But I bet that super glue, the CS glue, is probably dry enough now to where we can start working on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the clamps. Great. Alright, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Oh, luckily that came off. And it's still a little wet there. Yeah, anyways, before I glass this in, I think I'm going to fit the grill anyway. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those two bosses off for the lower part of the mount on this. So those two, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut those tabs off. But I think I'm going to have to fire up the old Dremel here, and hopefully there's enough charge. Now I'm gonna worry about breaking this. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in here. Alright, so there is some resistance. So I am gonna remove some of this material where them bosses were. You could do it here, but then you risk scratching the chrome. I'll widen them up a little bit, but I bet it's gonna fit now. Alright, so I got it now. So there's like no resistance, and it's actually fitting in there nice now. That's plenty. Okay, now for radiator support, I'm gonna kind of pre-fit this. So it's probably a good thing we didn't cut those bosses down, because that's going to fit tight. Although the radiator support can go forward. And then if you look here, it's cut out to fit. There's like a block right there, like a. So we're gonna need to make sure that we can fit in there. So I guess I'm gonna move the plastic here. So you can see that right there. And so when this fits in here, this should be flat against the, I forgot what that's called. And then you can see this can actually go all the way forward. Yeah, I like it right where it's at, actually. I don't want that coming forward, rolling forward, so I like it right where it is. So when we glue this in, we're going to use the front, this grill piece to glue this in, and then we're going to tape this tight to the front. So that's pretty much how that's going to go. Alright, so we're ready to start finishing this up. Alright, so now, so one thing I'm going to do, if you look on a real one, this edge right here is sharp. And then right where the headlight bezel stops, it's kind of rounded. And that's what kind of gives it that slanted look, part of it. So I'm going to mark that. Actually, it's already marked. You just got to go straight across where that is, where this line is. You're going to go right up to it. So I'm going to get this. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I don't really want to put any filler on these where the turn signals go. So I'm going to kind of mask that off, and then I'm also going to mask off right here so I'm not putting a bunch of filler in here and then have to sand it off later. We don't need very much filler at all for that, so basically all we're really trying to fill is just that where these two pieces meet. Yeah, because last time, man, did a lot of sanding, unnecessary sanding. And actually, I think I'm gonna knock that corner edge down just a fudge. So I'm gonna mix up some putty. This is actually just filler putty, glazing putty, but it's 2-part. Hopefully we're still filming here. Yeah, I think that's gonna stand out just fine. And then primer will probably fill in the rest, so I'm not too worried about it. Probably used a little too much hardener on that one. Alright, so we're almost through it. Once that cures and I get that sanded down, I think the next step will be to prime it. Yeah, that'll be the next step. This is priming it, and then once it's primed, I can fit this in, and we'll glue the radiator support in. Alright, so I'm gonna let that cure, and then we'll come back. Alright, so yeah, this stuff's already cured. Now I'm gonna go about sanding this stuff off. Again, I like a file because it's flat. So I'm just gonna kind of rough it in, I think, with a file. calling that good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that with some primer, let that cure, and then we're going to move on to gluing the grill or the radiator support in. Alright, so primer is dry, and I might have screwed up. I don't know yet. I decided to try to paint this pre-gluing. So what I did is I taped off the points where it's going to be glued in. But this black paint takes forever to cure. But the idea was I'd get a cleaner paint job if I could pre-mask it off. But I'm starting to think that might have been a mistake. So I think I'm going to skip that because this paint is far from even being cured anyway. So that ain't going to work. So I'm going to glue it in, and then I'll do my best to mask it off. And then we'll see what happens. But I have a feeling I'm going to touch it up. But anyways, I got to find some screws. Yeah, I think we're going to want a little bit longer screw. So I'm going to go through my box of screws. Actually, we got these M3 by 12. That might be a little too long. M3 by 10. I think that's what we want. Alright, so what I'm going to do is kind of do like a rehearsal here. And kind of... But yeah, it's good and tight. Alright. Alright, so I'm going to take this to the grinder real quick and square that off better. So let me do that. I'm going to put you on pause a minute. Alright, so I guess we'll look underneath here. That looks pretty good. Alright, so Alright, so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it and we'll let that cure. And then the next step will be to epoxy weld those in place. The glue joints on the side here, and then our blocks. Get our mixing tray ready. And try to get things that I don't want to get epoxy on away. And maybe get a towel. But I think basically when I'm done, I'm gonna just kind of flip it on its edge like that. But you can see I'm gonna fill all these gaps here, right in here, here, and then probably right in there. There's really not much I can do on the front. Maybe I can fill in some small gaps. But anyways, let's get this done. This video is gonna be a month long. Alright. Well, that's really it. There's really nothing more. I mean, I'll probably end up sanding this and repainting that. I think painting that was a waste of time. So yeah, what's next from here? Yeah, I think from this point I think I'm gonna paint it and do the detail work on it, and I'll assemble the front clip back on the cab, probably for the last time ever. And then from that point, then we'll be moving on to the chassis. May go over some pointers on the box. See how sharp these corners are. You may want to round them corners off, especially right here, because it's kind of like the way the, you know, this corner is kind of rounded here. That's the way the corner of the box is as well. So you want to round that corner off. Get that round. Tailgate, actually, the way the tailgate is actually how it really should be. So just a real quick pointer on that. But other than that, yeah, I'm gonna probably go ahead and prime this, you know, cut all this off and get this flat. So yeah, you're gonna, you know, cut this piece off and cut all this stuff here off, let that boss and all that, because you aren't gonna need it anymore. Hey, stop it. Alright, so I'm going to conclude this part of the tutorial. Went way longer than I'd hoped. But yeah, I went over quite a bit on this one. So alright, so we're going to conclude and we'll let that dry, and then when we come back we'll be shifting over to the chassis.